Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of your favorite League of Legends esports podcast about North American League of Legends that frequently talks about Tier 2 and has Collins as part of the show. It's Hotline League. I literally just got off of a plane, took the Uber to get to the apartment, walked in the door, handed Kobe the package that I found for him downstairs by the mailbox, and then turned on the stream. And then immediately start getting going on this. So I'm fresh off of my trip to DreamHack, which was really good. I'll talk about that in a second. But first, let me introduce my co-host for tonight. It's none other than Cubby. Cubby, how's it going?
I'm good, Travis. I was not at DreamHack Dallas this weekend, but God, you had safe travels. I heard it was a lot of fun down there. Kangas and I will say, were at the NRG party, so shout outs to them for having us. That was pretty fun. They had two musical numbers that were there. And then, yeah, I'm prepping for CLoL this week. I'm flying out to Boise later on, so we're going to be there for CLoL finals and looking forward to that. And on top of all the news that kicked off today, it really felt like today was the start of summer. So
yeah,
wearing our LCS fresh, because it's a fresh new look.
People can't see it. It's behind a microphone. There we go. All right. And some people can't see it because they're listening to the podcast. Anyway.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, I'm glad to hear you had a good time. Did you get to go to Shroud's birthday party?
No, I'm not that cool, man. That's Kelby perks only, I think.
No, dude. Well, so I also got the VIP invite to Shroud's party, but I was already going to DreamHack because I got it last week, and I was heartbroken because his party was literally Fallout New Vegas themed. I'm sure everybody's seen everything on social media, but like that is my goddamn dream after this entire year of being obsessed with Fallout. And so many people were in sick Fallout outfits, and they had a bunch of like Fallout themed stuff and Fallout cake and all this, and I'm sure the thing cost six figures, but I was very sad that I was not able to attend that. And that's the first of several brags that I'm going to be making on this night's episode of Hotline League. So everybody buckle up, because my ego's going to the moon on this episode. Anyway, it's Kangas. Kangas, welcome to tonight's episode as our guest. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And since the last time I was on, I have actually watched Fallout, and I do agree, really, really good show. I started watching through it a second time, too. Have you watched it twice, Travis, or just once?
I've not watched it twice. I'm really bad about consuming any media, like, twice in a row. Normally it takes, like, a decade before I'm down to do that, but...
Oh, wow.
I did like it.
Okay. I highly recommend watching it a second time because what I've come to appreciate is there is no waste in the entire show. Every scene, every moment, every plot point that feels minor the first time through, you realize the second time through, like, oh, it all means something and connects to something. So it was a really well-made show. Big fan.
Yes.
But I did not get the invite to the big Fallout party, unfortunately. But Energy Party was awesome. And then Cubby and I had way too many hot dogs, like an unhealthy amount of hot dogs on Saturday. But that was still fun. So it was a good weekend.
That's fantastic. I'm super glad to hear it. And I think you're a great guest for tonight because, and listen, everybody, I want to warn you all. I, today, learned about something called the NACL, which is... another League of Legends league that exists in and operates in North America. It's from my understanding, it's like a small little charity collegiate type thing. But I learned about it.
You have to buy in now if you want to be a collegiate team to hop in.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
That out there.
Yeah. Well, I learned about it because of some really exciting news where a person who I really enjoy recently got into this league, and his name is Brandon Sanderson. We're going to be talking about that tonight, along with OTK, who some of you might be familiar with. There's a balding man, I believe, that is part of that organization. That's about all I know about it. Anyway,
what the hell,
Kangas? He's balding. You shaved your head. I assume you're making a decision.
True.
I feel like
we're going to go with that. We're going to stick with that story, everybody.
Oh. Well, regardless, you embraced it in a way that I think this person has not. All right. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the OTK stuff, which is really exciting. But the biggest stuff that has come out in this past week is the, I should say this past week, this morning, We had the video drop with Mark and Whipley talking about the changes that are coming to the LCS. We have the full schedule, which, spoiler, is kind of rough. But we have conversations about how the format's going to work. There's changes to the summer playoffs. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is going on. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. We're going to be taking all your calls. But before we get into that, a little bit of chat. So you saw Fallout. Cubby, you're excited about going to Boise this weekend. I wanted to talk a little bit about how cool it was to meet a lot of folks at DreamHack. I miss... So League, back in the day, used to be at all these like major esports festivals and gaming things. It was at PAX, it was at MLG, it was at IPL, it was at DreamHack, all these different things. And then eventually we just sort of became this like little island that floated off into the sky, and Dalaran style. And then after that, we were never able to. I did not get to go to a lot of these things, and I was so disconnected from seeing a lot of the other people in the industry. And it was very sad. And so getting to go to DreamHack this weekend, I've gone twice now this past year, but I really enjoyed it. And it was super cool to meet a bunch of people. But one person whose name I was originally going to say, because they subbed earlier, and I don't want to dox them because I'm going to talk about them. It was really cool because on Friday, so I was hosting this Magic event that was happening where you it's like, I don't know, like probably 30 or 40 people signed up for this thing where they're all getting commander precons for people who know what they are, and you get to play in like a 4-person pod. And because I was the headliner for the event, there's a chance that people could end up in my pod, and they could end up with like upgraded stuff. It was sponsored by Heavy Play, which is an accessories manufacturer in the space. And right before the event started, I met somebody who came up to me and was like, "Oh, I listen to Hotline League all the time, every week, and you got me into Magic." And I thought, "Oh, this is really cool." We had a nice little conversation. He's like, "Yeah, I'm in your event later." And so then it turned out that this person, just like sheer happenstance, I wish I could say I rigged it because that would mean I was like a better person than maybe I am. But this person ended up in my pod. So they got all the upgraded stuff. For those that know, that also meant they got upgraded precons, or the pod did, and so he got the Eldrazi Commander Masters precon, which is a really good one, really valuable one. And then I found out that this person is like a local bus driver, school bus driver, who listens to Hotline League every week, and who bought a ticket to DreamHack, showed up on Friday, and the only thing that they did was enter into my event. And so I was really happy that they ended up in my pod.
That's so cool.
It was such a, and like for me, I just wanted to shout that out because I've been doing this show for a long time. I go on Reddit yesterday and I see, oh wow, Silvxs did this beautiful masterful video about like the history of the LCS. Let me look at the comments. Oh, it's just people randomly shitting on me. And so whatever. So whenever I go and meet people in person who are doing this stuff, it's like very invigorating for me. So thank you to everybody who listens to Hotline League every week, and thank you to this individual for coming out and participating in the event. It was a really good time. So I met a whole bunch of other awesome people too. So I had a great time. I just wanted to share that story at the beginning. Anywho, so Kangas and Cubby, how long have you known about this OTK and Brandon Sanderson stuff?
I knew about the Brandon Sanderson stuff for a couple weeks because I may or may not have tipped Travis off to that one. I think you already knew about that one though.
Cubby, I was in the fucking call where I introduced them.
Yeah.
You're telling me Cubby leaks stuff? No way. That's impossible.
Oh, there we go.
Travis,
He's a leaker.
Yeah, big time leaker. I knew that OTK was in the running for a couple teams, but I didn't know who they signed on with. So I knew they were going to likely be involved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know any of it, if I'm being honest and transparent. So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I guess nobody tells me anything.
No, I mean that was one where like Maryville was really excited about that one, and I know that someone brought it up in the chat, Pop Smithy, that it's actually naming rights sponsorships, which are bigger in NACL this year. So I know FlyQuest themselves, the announcement graphic, it is NZXT FlyQuest. MU is a totally different team now. And then Cincy Fear changed to partnering with OTK. So I think it was a way to get more money to the teams, but also it's bringing in some pretty decently sized brands to the league too. So that's really exciting for us.
Yeah, I think it's a much more natural way to get people that are like interested in, because it's more like a naming rights thing. It's not like you have to own and operate the team and have these expenses. I wonder what somebody like Disguised Toast is gonna opinion of it's gonna be, because he is somebody who did own and operate the team and like got into the league itself. But I think it's really cool to show what it can be going forward. That we can attach really cool names, really cool brands like Brian Sanderson. That's like a huge name to have. It that's so cool. Brandon Sanderson. There we go. It's just cool to have stuff like that in the tier 2 system.
Yeah, and just for a little bit of context, I'm going to do my best tonight to give, because I know we have some people that listen to the show and they don't check Twitter or whatever. So it was announced that Maryville, University of Maryville, which is a college that has competed in the Tier 2 ecosystem for a very, very long time and placed second last spring split, despite what people think. I do pay attention to these things. And that they are going to become Dragonsteel as the team that they're competing as, and that's because they've partnered with Brandon Sanderson, the famous fantasy author who many people have heard me talk about with Mark, especially over the years. And his company is named Dragonsteel, so they're representing him. And then OTK has OTK Starforge Systems, which is their computer manufacturing brand, and they are going to be partnering with the Cincinnati
Fear.
Yeah.
See,
so
I pay attention.
Yeah.
Tier 2. So and when we mentioned the naming rights thing. So my understanding, folks can go watch the video that I uploaded in a frantic state the moment I got through security at the airport today. But my understanding is that Riot is trying to cultivate like a type of partnership, or like a variety of partnerships, I should say, between known brands and figures mostly. Whipley joked about calling it the North American Celebrity League, and
hell yeah,
and then teams that are in the NACL, kind of modeled off the TOE stuff. And the premise is to reference like the naming rights stuff. What I've heard is that this is essentially a spectrum where you can have something like Toast, where Toast operates that entire organization and hires staff and the whole thing is underneath them, or you can have folks who just want to be like, hey, I'm going to sponsor this team. And so really, I actually don't even know where the Dragonsteel stuff is at right now, because while I was involved a little bit in the early conversations, I don't know how it netted out. But the idea is that Brandon Sanderson or a Anya Taylor-Joy, for instance, if she wanted to get into League Esports, and I would welcome her to do so, she could be like, I'm gonna be like Toast, and I'm going to run my own organization and do all of this in esports. Or she could be like, I'm gonna just do the sponsor thing. Or she could do something like, hey, I want to partner with an existing org, but I want to be redo their creative and really be in charge of a lot of their content. And like, I have people that want to partner with, I want to bring in on all that stuff. And so the idea is that each relationship between the individual or the brand and the organization can be custom and built to sort of whatever those two entities want. Because as I said in that video, it's not like Brandon Sanderson is partnering with Riot. Brandon Sanderson is just partnering with Maryville, and then like Riot is helping to facilitate those conversations and kind of giving a bit of a template of what that can look at. So
I hinted at it in the last episode of Hotline League, or it was like one or two before, but Riot had a list of partners that like they were like kind of gathered, like people helped them gather it, and then they helped teams at least get in touch with those partners and have their own discussions, which I feel like was a really good move from them. Because for me, like, we can joke about the NACL being the celebrity league, but I actually think it gives people a reason to tune in. And if you ask me, like, I think creators running teams is actually the future of NA. Like, if we're gonna be honest, like, I think people are like way more attached already to a team like Disguised versus Immortals. In the sense that like they feel like there's a lot more heart and soul that they connect more with the ownership. And we saw Disguised have a really positive and powerful impact on our league last year Like, if we lost 7 LCS orgs and we saw viewership go up simply because Disguise joined the league. That really is the story of what happened. So I feel like at least taking from that learning and trying to open up more partnerships and get more people in, hopefully get more people a reason to tune into a league that isn't the most competitive in the ecosystem in NA, which already isn't the most competitive region. I think it's a really smart move from them. So it was a lot of good changes today in our
And
world.
if you think back, it even connects to how LCS first started, right? Like Hotshot GG was CLG. Like we always had these figureheads and like a reason to be a fan of the team, and it feels like we're kind of going back to that. So this is a great opportunity. Kobe, I know you're roommates with Travis. If you're listening, just get the naming rights to CLG. I don't know who's got that these days, but just buy an NACL spot, naming rights. CLG's back, baby. Let's go.
So true, so true. By the way, to reference what you were talking about earlier, Kangas, where you said, I wonder how Toast would feel about this. If I'm Toast, I'm really happy because it's like, it's validating the space, and also, I think if they could over time fill this league with a bunch of streamers and celebrity types, and bring all these people in, then I think that's just a really great benefit for everybody. And is one of the few ways that I think you could actually make people care about tier 2, because historically that's just not been, in my opinion, what the priority should be, but also not something that they've been able to accomplish on a pretty high level. So
I mean, even think about like the money matches. I mean, that's just giving everyone an excuse to co-stream the games if you're involved, and also put like more stuff down in the regular season game. It's going to be really nice for just getting a burst of viewership for those days as well.
And for anybody who didn't watch the video, we were going to have 2 super weeks in the middle of the season, and they're going to have money matches where every team gets a total of 2. I don't remember what the exact prize was, but you win money if you win that match. So we can do a lot of fun stuff with content for NACL. The teams can do a lot of fun stuff with content for that. So it's just kind of like a cool little way to spice up the middle of the season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I'm sure we can get one call or two about it. I know everybody doesn't. There's a lot of stuff. We primarily cover LCS. There's a lot of stuff to dig in on the LCS side. But, if you want to hear more about how, like, my limited involvement in this Brandon Sanderson stuff came to be, you can go check out the video that I did. It's up on the channel today. And then, I just think it's going to be really fun to sort of see how this develops, and I hope it's very savvy and smart, and I think it's going to be great. So, really quickly, I do want to give a shout out over on YouTube to Taniquitil, who sent a $50 super chat. That is very much appreciated. Thank you so much. The last couple months without sponsorship has been just really fantastic to see everybody kind of helping and supporting in that kind of direct capacity. But hopefully, I will say that there's good news coming on that front, unless something terrible falls through at the last minute, in which case this is going to be really awkward. Okay, let's get into the other news, which is
LCS?
The LCS stuff.
Yeah. Tomio's in for Shopify Rebellion. I feel like that's the one roster change we had this week that was announced.
Thank you for reminding me, because I think that was early last week, and then
it was.
My brain got purged by all the information today.
Yeah, but obviously we can finally talk about best of threes being a thing, so that's cool. Because best of threes are now a thing. It's single round robin, and the schedules were announced. There's also what everyone asked for from last split, and by far not the biggest complaint of a 3-week break being intact. That's back, so that's cool too.
It's
it's
make longer than last time, right? Or is it still 3-week? Am I crazy?
It's still a 3-week. Okay. We had to make room on the schedule for redacted, so it's fine.
Yeah, true.
But,
well, so not only is it a 3-week break, so here's look, I know people are excited about best of threes, and I'm going to do my best to embrace best of threes, even though everybody knows that I'm like worried about viewership and all that stuff. We'll see how it goes. Overall, I'm really excited about all the news today. I will point out that this is the schedule, everybody. Saturday and Sunday starts on June 15th and June 16th. That's opening week. Then we get June 22nd, then 23rd. Then 4 days later, we get week 3, June 27th and 28th. So there's literally a 3 days of no LCS before we get back into it on Thursday, Friday. I'm not saying that, whatever. It's just a very tight turnaround. So we have week 3, June 28th. Week 4 starts July 20th. I just want you to hold those two numbers in your brain, those two dates, June 28th, July 20th, between week 3 and week 4. That I think is something that people like Riot and Mark very brilliantly did a good job of sort of, speeding past. But I do think that is going to be really rough in the same way that, honestly, I feel like the sentiment that I saw in spring was the worst part of the spring was the giant break. I feel like that was the biggest thing. People talked like I was super hype, and then this giant break happened, and it just derailed a lot of the hype. So I'm not saying that they can't recover from it. I'm not saying it's going to kill the split or anything like that, but that is pretty painful. I know a lot of people will be able to watch the redacted event in between, but I don't know. I just wanted to point that out because I think it's wild. Also, 2 of the weeks this split are going to be in the closet for us. So that is also a bit of a bummer. And they I don't want to say they swept it under the rug, but it was sort of one of those things where they're like, let's go. Also, when I go to lolesports.com, I can't see this news article, which is kind of annoying.
Issues with the website?
Yeah.
No way.
The LCS Summer Primer and the NACL 2024 Summer Primer are not there. There's just the Hall of Legends and MSI 2024 Primer. So if you are a casual fan who just goes to lolesports.com, you're not going to see any of this information. But that is up as well. What else am I missing that got announced? Oh, there's a Twitch extension, right?
Yeah, there is. We got a call about that, actually. I'm really excited about that because, in other games, like if I put on my Kelby hat and reference Dota, you can actually boot up competitive games and watch through your own client, which is a cool feature. They also have a really nice Twitch extension that goes on top of it.
And that's not just watching
the stream itself.
Yeah, you're not in the client. You're not watching a stream. You're spectating the game.
Yes, you can control your own spectate in the game and click wherever you want. It's honestly incredible that they have that feature. It's really nice. So I will say that they've had an extension beforehand. I feel like this is kind of catching up with the times and is a really positive change. I think that there's such a struggle in MOBAs of like, this game is just too complicated now if you're walking into it. It's so hard to pick up League of Legends. So anything that can cut through that and like actually decrease the barrier to just learning about the game and like what people are doing is huge.
Don't spoil your opinion too much if we have a call.
Really good change.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I don't think a new fan's really going to utilize.
Wait for the call.
Like
wait for the call.
Okay.
Well, I'm just trying to blast the news
spiel?
out so people have context on this, especially as we fill up the waiting room.
What was it called back in 2019 when we had the one that you could pay for to follow the teams? ProView. There we go.
ProView.
I miss
ProView.
ProView.
No, that was the fan pass or something.
Yeah, it was a fan pass, but you got access to all the players on your team in their ProViews. I'm pretty sure it was packaged with it.
Yeah,
I remember I had the super fan of CLG for a long time, and then I accidentally changed my icon, and it still had, every time you loaded into a game, it would say super fan of CLG, even into like 2022. But the moment I changed my icon, that went away, and I was so sad.
Kangas, do you want to talk about, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the playoff changes they made.
That was another big one. The return kind of the gauntlet. Gauntlet is now just part of the playoff bracket. So
what was the gauntlet for people who did not watch LCS 5 years ago?
Fair. So the gauntlet was something that would qualify our third team, I believe, in. So like winner of
Worlds,
summer, for world spot, we'd have the 3 seeds. We would have, after the summer season, a gauntlet played based on, usually it was points. We often had point systems that connected spring and summer, and then that would seed you into the gauntlet, and that would be the final spot. We'd send a team to worlds. We have a gauntlet returning, but it is packaged as the lower bracket of our summer split playoffs. So we'll have an upper bracket that will look very similar to a traditional upper bracket where first and second seed auto qualify for the second round, and then the 6th seed will fight each other in the first round. But then the lower bracket gets interesting because it's the losers of the first round, but then the second round there's 2 losers. The higher seed moves up 1 in the gauntlet. So it's only 1 best of 5 at a time, But if your regular performance in the summer season can have a really big impact in how many of those matches you have in the lower bracket if you get put there early. So it's interesting. I think it's cool. I haven't really seen anything like this exact format, and we haven't seen a gauntlet in a while. So I think it's kind of cool. It really does incentivize you to do well in summer regular season. So I'm always happy with systems that do that.
I will not be critical of this. I'm just down to have fun. We're gonna put it that way. The gauntlet actually had some of the best moments in old league history, like for me in NA. So I'm actually really happy that a gauntlet's back.
Yeah, I think so too. So that's basically all of the news. I don't know if there's anything I'm forgetting. Twitch and YouTube chat can remind me if I am, but I think that's most of it. And so we're gonna be getting into calls now. I think we don't need the explanation this week, other than to say if you're a sub, please make sure you sync. Well, I assume that the people that are here this week are like, they're in it, You
know what? We got a lot of folks excited for LCS. I appreciate that. If you want to join that crew, go to discord.gg/Travis, and then from there, we'll hop into the first call. Here we go.
Yeah. All right. So off Cubby goes. Shout out to Jidoa for the $10 super chat. Really appreciate it. That's very generous of you over on YouTube. We got Luxy Bear, Dojamin, Glimmerglen, My Beautiful Banana, Alvura, Sheldon Apple Thief, Brandon Sue 2000, Trumpet Frog, Dixie Cup, Immortal Scrub. Thank you all for the subs over on Twitch. But we got Con here for Cubby. Is this your first Con call?
Yeah, it is.
Oh boy. All right. Well, buckle up. Con, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Boise, Idaho.
Boise.
Hey.
CLoL finals.
I'm gonna be there. I got my ticket for it. So
let's go.
Nice. Yeah, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but what? Okay, remind everybody what is the event that's happening there, because it sounded like you said summer finals, Kangas, which is not the event that's happening.
CLoL
finals. Yes.
Collegiate finals next weekend.
So all right, yeah. Con, do you have any recommendations for these folks that are going to Boise?
Oh, for sure. I have lots places to eat, maybe things to do in downtown area and stuff while you're here.
I'll ping you for the best burger joint, and we'll take care of this afterwards. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
So, in a very non-con like fashion, my take is between the playoffs and regular season format changes, I think these are the best format changes in LCS history.
All right. Why do you think that?
So I'll start with the playoff ones because I think it's a lot actually better than the more I think about it. I think the way they were able to bring back the gauntlet and make that lower bracket run have its own identity rather than just being like a loser's bracket in playoffs can create some more hype storylines, can create more hype interactions. It adds an extra best of 5 series than we're used to in a 6-team double and bracket situation. But the use of the gauntlet also allows for the top 2 seeds of the regular season to get more power and to get a bye further on in the season, where I know in the previous format with 10 teams it was kind of like this, but usually in spring split when there were 6 teams, the first 2 seeds and the 3rd and 4th seed would all be playing in that opening round. There wasn't that much of an advantage of being a first or second seed. So having them get a bye off the bat, I think is just really good. And I think the 5th and 6th seed not having to, only have the one season start out in like the losers bracket, I think is more exciting of a format itself too. And then for single round robin best of 3s, I've been kind of championing this for a while. I think I agree with Travis in a lot of cases where double round robin best of 3s are just not sustainable or positively achievable for the league, I think, in North America, between costs, between time for fans. But the single round robin best of 3s isn't going to add any more games for fans, most likely, besides maybe one a day. But I think it allows for teams and orgs to properly market themselves in their matchups and create either a watch party, create either co-streams, and they should be able to like market their whole entire identity and their brand towards their matchup once per week. And I just think that as a fan is just a better experience overall, especially if you're going to become fans.
Dude, he had me all the way up until the end.
Really? I think that I'll give Con this. First off, we're guaranteed to have more games than last split. The only way we get the same amount of games as last split is if every best of 3 is a 2-0. So by those means, it's an improvement. Second off, I'm actually kind of with Khan on this because I feel like teams just have less resources now, and having more time to like prep a specific matchup to be excited about instead of just, hey, we're playing twice this week, will be better for teams. I actually think that could lead to like a better content cycle. They have more time to execute, and they can actually focus on a single message. I actually think
I just think it's funny that 80 of you guys think that the teams are going to be putting marketing effort into highlighting a single match of the week. That like I just don't. I think they don't.
They'll only get one in a season, so maybe if it is a big matchup like Cloud9, if they know they're up against TL, they might as well put all their eggs into that. Try and hype it up as much as possible.
I just don't think teams operate that way where they have so many eggs and they're trying to decide what basket to put them in. I think usually they don't have any eggs, and if they did, they wouldn't understand what a basket is. Like I just don't think that. I don't think that they.
I guess.
Yeah.
My example, I thought, one, if orgs are like that, then I'm not going to blame the format for that. I'm going to blame the orgs for not taking it.
Yeah, I'm not blaming the format. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that your point about the format being good because it allows teams to step up and do marketing in a way that they. I don't think that the problem before with teams like esports team marketing was, oh fuck, there's 2 teams or there's 2 matches a week. We just don't know how to do this, and that's why it's been bad. I think it's that they don't know how to do really good marketing.
I think it's a little bit of what you're saying is true, but I also think, like, if you're somebody out there, like, I'm giving an example of 100 Thieves, and I think they're an org that should be able to utilize this to the fullest extent with their content team and stuff of, like, whenever you have 1 game per day in best of ones, as an org, you're kind of saying, are we going to invest this much time and effort into what could just be 30 minutes for our team and our brand for that one day itself? With the idea of it being like a best of 3 once a week, you're now thinking, okay, this is like a 1-2 hour commitment, potentially. Maybe, you don't have to ask them to be on multiple days during the week. You can maybe sit down and, take like 100 Thieves with their content creators. Maybe you have a co-stream every week where they just co-stream that best of 3 with 100 Thieves. And maybe it's a rotation schedule. 1 week it could be Courage. 1 week it could be, Valkyrie. Like, orgs, I feel, shouldn't, like, they don't know how to do it. You're right, Travis. But they should see this as an opportunity to build co-streams out and build brand identity because they have.
I am excited for when you call back in week 6 and we can point to all these times where teams capitalized on this situation by building out co-streams and building out brand identity because they only had one. The only place
happen.
Sure.
I want to hop in with something if you don't mind, Travis. It's cut in because Jonathon, aka Kamikaze Platypus, in chat had a really good point. He's worked on the team side, of course. Anybody who knows Jonathon, shout out, one of the OGs. It's less about the 1 day focus and a second or a completely open day now.
So that was what I was about to say
an extra day
before you cut in and stole the thing I was about to say, which was I was going to say that's the one place I can agree with him is like theoretically this should put less pressure on teams. I think it only does until the team is like, oh fuck, we got to practice on that extra day. You know what I mean? Because theoretically, like here's the grand irony, Kangas, is that a second ago, Cubby was like, well, the good thing is that this should mean that at the very least we're going to get more games a split. And yes, from a viewer perspective, that's good.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm pretty sure this means that there's going to be less time in which the pro players are going to be spending it playing professional, playing League of Legends in some sort of professional capacity. Because like
It'd be less days. It's the same time though.
No, but I'm saying, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying like from a sheer hour perspective.
Yeah.
It'll work out to be
2 games in a best of 3 on 1 day is the same number of time as those 2 games.
Yeah. So what do we think happens here? So right now most teams get 1 day off. Normally they take Mondays off. Do we think that players are going to get 2 days off a week, or do we think that that second day turns into a content day?
I think that goes into a content day. Also, I remember the conversation we had with Travis this past split. Like best of 3s were brought up by a caller.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like, hey, I'd rather like play 2 games. Like if I lose, it sucks. I have to live with it for a week. But I'd rather have a chance to adopt after game 1, like whether it's a win or loss. So I feel like like where a lot of people think this is a positive is that will exist. Like you can see a series where hopefully teams adapt, which could be really good. And I think it's important to do on stage because that's a unique process to playoffs and with how our league has worked. But ultimately, I think that it'll just be like less days. My guess is that they're going to take that bonus day where they either do some more media, maybe teams boot up their own co-streams and like feature players. Like I really want the LCS to actually enable teams to have their own co-streams and have players be featured on it. Because like let's face it, like everything's going to co-streams, right? If Riot's going to enable their top creators to do so, they have to enable their own teams to do so, and I think their own talent. And if they're not doing that, then they're making sure that those people are going to fall behind in the world. Like, I really want to see like people will be able to tune in to like a FlyQuest co-stream when it's like C9 versus Dig. Like that'd be cool, you know? Or like if a team's not playing that day, they could actually like try and watch LCS and build out their own channels. So
get Masu and Busio watching another best of 3 series and talking about it on stream. Yeah,
do you guys think? Because I like that a lot. Do you guys think there's a chance that teams don't want to do that because it will compromise? Their like if you got JoJo being like, oh yeah, dude, we're just gonna fucking ban that shit. I mean, maybe JoJo's a bad example because no one will believe him. But like, you can imagine a world where like players are accidentally leaking something or they are saying something that's gonna like hurt their ban system, you know, their champ select in an upcoming match or something. So I wonder if that's gonna be something where coaches and GMs are like, fuck that, I'm not putting my players in an unscripted setting for 3 hours where it's just all live and they're talking specifically about players that they're going to be playing against soon.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And if any
teams
are worried about that and want to hire hosts or casters to hang out with the players to make sure they don't leak anything, you know, I know a couple people.
Yeah. I was going to add in one thing I kind of want, especially I think with this new format, I think LCS teams could do it if they wanted to, is make like a broadcast that is almost like a hometown cast of their team's games. Because I'm more of a sports fan. I love watching hockey, and being somebody who can watch a Philadelphia Flyers broadcast, and that whole broadcast basically having the slant of we are pro this team, where all of our talking points are focused on this team, I think helps build my like connection to that group or team. I would love it if some of these LCS teams maybe took advantage of some really good talent that may not be on the main channel all the time, and maybe
I'm unaware of any talent that would fit that description.
I mean, that's something that I think they could do, but I think that a lot of the value of home team broadcasts was A, radio, and B, the fact that multiple games go on in that league at the same time. There are games that go on for League of Legends across the world at the same time, but not at the same time in the league. So, yeah. Also, for some hinting at like Steve being able to do that, we would be on standby to cover our own league on the days where we are covering our own league. So,
true.
Yes.
And when you say Steve,
Kangas,
yeah.
Hey.
There's another bit.
It's on the screen. I'm sorry.
No, it's on the screen, but we have podcast listeners. I'm always trying to keep it real for the audio.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm just on a first name basis with Steve. We're chill like that.
You're chill like that. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious to see how this goes. Oh fuck! There was something that we were talking about. We were talking about the playoffs, and then you talked about the format. Why the best of 3 stuff will be good. And I can't remember what I was going to say. This never happens to me on the show, and I'm really frustrated that it's because I just came off a flight.
Just like playoffs or Twitch extensions were the other big ones. I know it wasn't brought up with Con. Con thinks it's the best changes. Like
the best changes ever. Yeah. So I think that's a good question. Is like, all right, if the premise of this call is like this is the best format changes ever, what are the other prominent good format changes that the LCS has made?
8 to 10 teams, even if it involved franchising, that was a huge change. That was very positive for the league. I would almost side with that.
That was pre-franchising. That was like year 2.
Yeah, we were already at 10
franchising. I mean, I would side with going to 10 teams as the best change ever made because that just was more business for everyone.
Yeah.
I may disagree, but I know chat would say getting double elimination and playoff formats was probably up there.
Yeah.
Actually, this is not the best change ever because we still are. If the issue is that if you are a top 2 team in regular season, you only have to win 1 best of 5 to go to Worlds. I fucking hate that. I don't like that at all.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't
because
notice
you get
that.
a buy. You get a buy. I think that one of the better parts about the bracket, that is like a big problem in the past. I want the bracket where I would have rather had this, where 5 and 6 seeds get one last life, or I don't know. I really don't like the fact that if you win one best of 5, you go to Worlds, even if you are a top 2 team.
Wait,
I know why they make it that
this
way,
is the current
but
thing you're saying?
yes.
The current format.
In
Oh,
the
so
current format.
is the first seed just seeded into the finals?
First and second
No.
seed are seeded into the second round of the upper bracket. If you won a best of 5 series, the lowest you can get is third then.
As
Oh,
either of those teams.
I
That's
see.
still a
Either of
massive
those
problem.
teams.
I really hate that problem. I think you have to win more than one best of 5 to get in. I don't like that.
That is a really good point
I
that I had
hadn't
not
noticed that.
realized in the representation,
Yes.
the graphic image of this.
So for
I guess-
me, if that wasn't involved, I would almost argue that it was like this last year. You were correct, but if we're gonna change the format, I wanted to fix it.
See, I actually like this change because I think one of the issues I think LCS and a lot of esports tend to have is people just tune out of the regular season because it does not feel important. The only thing that ends up mattering is playoffs. So the fact, especially with single round robin, that top 2 seeds is this important just makes the whole engagement levels just better. I get it from your perspective as like a competitive standpoint, but I think for giving people reasons and why they need to be connected throughout the regular season, this is just.
I know what I was going to say earlier. I was lying when I pretended that it was about the other thing. Somebody pointed this out earlier. It's something that's very obvious, but I don't think a lot of people thought about it. So the season ends or the regular split ends August 11th. The opening day is June 15th. On June 15th, we see the rematch of Team Liquid and FlyQuest. We will not see those two teams play against each other for probably 2.5 months. That is crazy. Just think about it.
It's a banger opening.
They only play it's a banger game. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge rivalry that has been sparked by these two teams because they were, you had Team Liquid come out and be like, yeah, fuck those guys, after they beat them.
JJ.
Yeah.
Gotta be as good as this guy to talk trash.
That is, and this is what, hang on, I'm just going to say this once. This is what I was talking about in the video whenever I was saying, best of 3's a scam, and then everybody shit on me. But, this is the exact example of that. People have not yet realized, in my opinion, that June 15th marks a 2-month break, definitely more than 2 months, before we see these two teams in the same league face each other again. That is insane. I don't think that any format that allows this, and I understand some people will be like, well, then change it so it's a double round robin or something. Whatever. My whole point is they were never going to do a double round robin, and it's fucking crazy that Team Liquid and FlyQuest will not face each other for more than 2 months. That is crazy, people. I guess they can face each other at Redacted in July, but in the league, they will not be facing each other, and that is crazy.
See, I guess for me, that is a point there. I could blame maybe a little bit that on Riot's scheduling and needing to learn with this format, and maybe not just putting the final matchup that you saw last year as the first game again. But I'm somebody who, as a fan, see the first and second best of ones don't feel that important either, because some of those games could just be over with the flip of the coin at 10-15 minutes. And I don't feel I sometimes feel that best of ones aren't even meaningful until you get the best of 5s either way. So my hope would be this best of 3 feels the more important weight than I would ever have gotten during the best.
I mean, yes, it's an important weight because they're not going to play each other for so long. That, I don't think it's a good. Even let's say it was the opposite, where they slam that match as the final match again on August 11th. Then we would have had 4 months between actually Dig and Immortals play August 11th at 4 p.m. I'm pretty sure that means
that's the best spot.
Dig and Immortals will not have played each other for 4 months, which I know it's funny because it's Dig and Immortals,
That's kind
but
of crazy,
dude, it'll have been 4 months since Dig and Immortals faced off. Isn't that gonna?
That's a positive for most people, though.
Yeah,
Right, Travis?
I know it's a positive, and we can meme on it, but from just a sheer fact that these are two teams in the same league. Actually, let's say
Yeah.
FlyQuest Cloud9.
Yeah,
That's the better
it's,
one.
It's a problem.
FlyQuest Cloud9 plays at 1 p.m. that day. FlyQuest and Cloud9, 2 of the 3 or 4 biggest teams in the league, will have not played each other for 4 months. That is fucking crazy. Like, and
I think it's crazy, but it's not a problem. I disagree that it's a problem with the summer format. I still would obviously rather have double round robin, but it's just a natural progression of the way that we're moving with the format. And I would rather have best of 3s, single round robin, than double round robin, best of 1s. I think a lot of people agree with that. It's weird. We can say these facts like this is just truthful. 4 months is a long time for 2 teams in the same league to play against each other, but I think that's a worthwhile sacrifice to make to get the best of 3s.
I mean, Kangas, I would
so
say
I'll laugh along, but
you
I don't think it's
you are gaining a lot of fans here because I think there are a lot of best of 3. If I came out and said, okay, guys, we can do best of 3s, but it turns out that we have to sacrifice a player on an altar every week and murder them in order to have best of 3s, there'd be people that are like, yeah, that's a sacrifice I am willing to make for best of 3. Like, there are so many people
made it,
who will just
They'll have
die
a
on the
list of
fucking hill.
players.
Yeah, the price must be paid. See, Twitch that's down. Depends on the pros we're sacrificing, says that great color.
To return to this,
Yeah.
I will say that as someone that had a single round robin best of 3 format in their league last year of Challengers League, we had our 2 best teams go up against each other like in the second, like in the back half of the seasons, like 2/3 of the way through.
both
And
undefeated.
that was really hype because we were actually able to like build up excitement for that. It's impossible to build up excitement for a top matchup day 1, especially when you're not going to play again for another 2 months until playoffs. So I'm completely with you on that, Travis. That is the sucky part about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's crazy, and I think it is crazy that we're living in a world where people don't think that that's a problem with the format. And one of those people is the guest on the show tonight, and that's even crazier that this man got on this show somehow.
I still want double round robin, which I think. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that, Travis? I've heard you say like icky things about double round robin best.
I mean, I think if so, the challenge with double round robin is you have to run 4 days a week of LCS broadcast. And that is like let's even say let's say that how else would you do it?
How much time do we have between
LCK.
end of LCS and summer though?
LCK is 5 days a week. You'd have to do something similar to LCK to fit it all in because that's what they do. They do double round robin best of 3s.
They got more teams though.
Yeah. Okay, so 4 days a week.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah, you just
But
double up. Yeah.
LPL started this last week. LCS.
They got 19. They got 19 teams.
Kangas, we switched.
Crazy.
We had to do. This is what I talked about in that video a couple months ago. We used to do double round robin best of 3. We had 10 teams, and we did essentially 5 days worth of broadcast over 3. Right? Because you had 1 day where it was just a single stream, 2 days that were double stream. If you remove 20, so again 5 days worth of broadcast into 3. If you remove 20% of the teams, that means you get 20% of the days, so you do 4 days of broadcast a week. So you either do double stream on 2 days, or you do 4 days of broadcast.
What I'm arguing, having not run the numbers in the slightest, is that we should have enough time if LCS had taken the full amount of summer that they had. Like I said, LPL's already started. We're not starting for another 2 weeks or a week and a half at this point, I guess.
Sure.
So, like, theoretically, I think we had enough time. I don't think 2 broadcast days. I think it would be 3 broadcast days, but I think we could get it done with 3 broadcast days, 2 best of 3s a day. Not that that's logistically possible. I'm not arguing that side as much for like either budget.
You end up in
or,
really
like,
weird
team
situations where
schedule.
some teams are playing 1 game or 1 match that week, and sometimes they're playing 2. Like I'm not to say that's a deal breaker, but like it's a lot more messy. Like I appreciate you bringing this up because this is the thing is that you were like, I haven't run the numbers, I haven't thought about all this stuff, and that is, I think, really great that you say that because it is representative of what I think the majority of people think when they think of double round robin best of 3.
Man of the people.
And like it is not. It's just not the way that they don't think about what that actually looks like. Anyway, I don't actually think that the LCS running for like 13 weeks or whatever that would end up being, 12 weeks at 3 days a week is probably healthy for the current viewership or player base that we have for this product. So
There would be issues with that too, but all I was saying is I think that schedule-wise there could be time for it. But yeah, single round robin. Point is, I also agree. There's gonna be a big amount of time between seeing teams face off each other, which will still feel weird. So
yeah.
All
right, so that's kind of why I disagree with the call. Con is like, look, I'm on board. I'm gonna get excited about best of threes. We're already in it, so I'm not gonna be sitting here whining like a baby throughout the entire split. But I am also not going to pretend that there are not what I think glaring issues that will reveal themselves over the course of this split to people.
You're not wrong with that at all. I think you have every right to feel that way, and anybody who tries to quote unquote shit on you for that is just not being cool about it. Because I think you do bring up a lot of great points.
Wow, that's the least. Are you not? Is this a different person who has Khan's name? I'm very confused. Khan, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
A couple things. One, if anybody's ever looking for just a simple movie, TV show type review channel, I do Josh Says Movies on YouTube. I see pretty much anything that's in theaters movie wise and catch most of the popular stuff for TV shows. And then, yeah, everybody check out CLoL finals this weekend with their broadcasts and stuff. We should be promoting the collegiate area more and really hyping up this finals. I mean, you think Travis might be thinking about it since now, Brian Sanderson's
Brandon
sponsored
Sanderson
team is going to be there.
Brandon?
Yeah, whatever his name is, I apologize. I don't read books.
Is he going to be there doing signings at CLoL finals? Do you know that, Travis?
Brandon Sanderson lives in Salt Lake. He's not in Boise. Unless you're talking about Khan, and Khan might be there doing signings.
Gone over under on signings?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I have Top Golf money to waste too if anybody wants to go.
Goodbye, Khan. Thanks for the call.
Top Golf money to waste.
Did we lose somebody in the waiting room?
That's his audience.
We might. We'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna dive in and get another caller.
Okay.
I love how much chat is just misspelling this man's name now.
Fucking Brandon Sanderson, get it right. Put some respect behind his name, people. All right. All right. We've got Immortal Scrub, Trevor Monreal, 40 months. Thank you, Trevor. Tameable Breed, 93. Dark Tarkanis for the 18 months. Cincy Fear says we got that Starforge money and gifted 5 subs in the chat. That's awesome. Thank you. Bella, thank you for the 13 months. And then Raz for 3 years. Subbed for 3 years, 36 months. That is a man who knows how to support the channel. And he's on that freelancer life. Kisiel is here. Kisiel, where are you calling from? Is that how you say your name?
It's Kisiel, but it's this little Polish dessert. I'm calling from Chicago though.
Kisiel, sorry. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I'm so excited for the gauntlet to come back. I think the gauntlet is the single best change they've made. At your previous call, I have the same issues, but the gauntlet, it's brought the best moments ever in the LCS. I mean, 2015 C9 back-to-back reverse sweeps. That's probably the single greatest LCS storyline I could remember. I'm also maybe one of the only esports fans that doesn't care about losers bracket. I don't like it, but I know this isn't too different, but I like that there's a lot more stakes on the regular season. There's a lot more stakes on the line in playoffs. The losers bracket doesn't really feel like a formality for the teams coming from the top anymore. And I'm so excited to see what comes with it. I think it's going to be just as exciting as it's been in the past.
So first off, I love that both this caller and Con both went with this is the best format change ever. For both, it's like
we got excitement for the LCS. I love it.
Yes,
that was actually the entire Discord. There were very few negative takes.
Yeah. So, all right, you believe that this is the best change ever. Give me a little bit more on this. Why do you think that the gauntlet, who some people in the chat are screaming it's not a gauntlet, why do you think that this is better? What did you like or what did you dislike about the previous system, I should ask?
I just think in the previous system, so obviously something had to change. You can't have 8 teams in summer playoffs in an 8-team league. I like that this change. One, there's no teams that start in the bottom. I feel like those teams never really amounted, like, even if they would win their first matchup, nothing would happen after that. So that was always kind of just like, okay, like, we have to get through this to get to the interesting matchups. But now that it's one team moves on and it's kind of single elimination rather than this like little bracket, I think that makes it a little more exciting, like how the gauntlet is. I also think it puts a lot more stakes on the regular season, which also has, usually towards the end of regular season when teams are kind of sorted out, nothing really matters, but now it matters for seeding into the gauntlet as well. You want to be, if you're going to lose, you really want to be the higher seeded team. So it makes the whole regular season a lot more exciting through that. And I'm just thinking it's going to build better storylines. I don't really know how it will. It
think it's
always
more
seems
hype?
to have done that in the past.
Here's how it's going to happen. I can answer that for you, caller. C9's actually going to do well at Worlds again because they're going to get knocked down and have to go through the gauntlet and win it again, like 2018 when they made semifinals.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gauntlet historians will understand that reference, but yes.
Yep,
Do you know how long 2018 was ago, Kangas?
That was 6 years
I
ago,
know.
yeah. Okay. Well, for anybody who's not aware, C9 was known for winning the gauntlet for a couple of years.
All those players from that team are still in the league. But minus Sneaky.
Oh.
4-5 though. It's not bad.
Was Medios not on that team?
No, it was Contracts.
Okay. That's right.
Contracts, Licorice.
Yeah.
Was it still Jensen mid lane?
Yeah.
Diving back into this call. I'm here for the gauntlet. We kind of talked about it in the last call. It's interesting how they like kind of rigged the lower bracket just to make it a gauntlet now. Because like the gauntlet used to be, after finals as we put it, but now it's just a lower bracket gauntlet. I'm kind of a fan of it. I feel like it puts a little bit more emphasis on how you do in regular season, which honestly, I will say, like, given that it is single round robin best of threes, I mean, it's only a 9-game record. Like, that kind of does make every best of 3 matter if you're in top 6. Like, we could legitimately, I would not be surprised if, like, I know it's a bummer to not see FlyQuest and TL go up against each other after opening day, but I would not be surprised at all if we see, like, the results of that best of 3 actually have an impact on seeding at some point. And we're for sure going to have, also it's a 7-game record. Sorry, I went in the autopilot NACL mode. I mean, every best of 3 really does matter. Like you only have 7. A tiebreaker, I assume, is going to be game score. So I feel like one of the pros of LCS in this past split was the fact that because there were only 14 games, like we saw a lot of disparity. I think about team sentiment behind the scenes about Immortals and 100 Thieves. Like, everyone had Immortals behind the scenes ranked as a better team than 100 Thieves, despite 100 Thieves being a top 2 team in the regular season. And the playoffs came, and 100 Thieves dropped off, right? But with it is like those best of 1s, you see a lot of disparity. I know best of 3s, in theory, the better teams should be winning more often because they have more games to do so. But it does mean that your record's going to be 7 games. I think we're going to get a lot of the excitement of what really I felt like LCS had last year was the fact that there were so few games. It actually really mattered. It was kind of the football effect, right? Like it's only so long of a season, and so every game really does count. I feel like that was a big win for the LCS, and I really think that that's going to be the way again. And I really hope that, like, I think we're going to see a lot of impact on some wins or losses in the playoff standings as we move forward, and with where you go in the gauntlet. I would not be surprised at all if we look at the gauntlet and be like, man, if this one best of 3 went differently, they would actually, like, have a better matchup now, right?
That's the crazy thing. It is the difference between 3rd seed and 4th seed is a full best of 5 that you have to play. So 3rd seed, if you're 3rd going into this bracket, you only need to win 2 best of 5s to get Worlds.
Yeah, you're buying
you're
yourself
4th
extra
seed,
lives in some sense, right?
Yeah, if you're 4th seed, you need to win 2 in a row. If you lose that second one, you're guaranteed to have to play an additional best of 5 due to how the gauntlet system works. So it's really, I think that adds a lot of weight, and I think the broadcast can do a lot with that. The teams, that's more pressure for them to at least get top 3. Like the difference between 3rd and 4th is actually going to be felt.
This is why, as a GM of a team, I can't have my players fucking co-streaming their strategies, putting it all out there, and I can't have us just sacrificing one of these days to be like a content day. They've got to be scrimming on this extra day that they didn't have before. because
All
all
right,
these
I mean,
matter.
that's fair. I mean, if you want my really hot take, this was suggested in the LCK, but I think that they should have a set day where all teams are required to do media and not scrim, and they could actually police that on the TR server and live. Because I'm kind of with you. Like I feel like there is a balance to be
Dude,
struck. Where, yes,
the
I want these
subreddit
guys
would
to be
go
as-
crazy. The community would go crazy. The players would go crazy. Like I like that in
it's fair.
practice,
It's
but I
fair.
feel like people would be like, "Well, we fucking lose because we just forced them to like sit around and stream."
It's not fair. Everyone plays in the same point grounds.
I'm
it's
talking about
totally
like
fair.
at an international event.
Oh well, I mean, if they
If
that
we are
elsewhere,
arbitrarily
it'd be
deciding that they
important.
can't, like,
That's
there's
true.
one day a week they can't scrim, people will all think that's the end of the world.
I mean, they already decided to have one off day a week, so I guess we could all go up in arms about that anyway.
Sure, exactly. Well, I mean, people do. I think quite frankly,
I know, and
like,
it's ridiculous. So,
some people
yeah.
do. If they had their way, pro players would not be sleeping or eating; they would just be scrimming.
Yeah, and if they don't win, they don't get food. That's all. Yeah, that's the important part of it, too,
100%, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No pagoda breaks for you. No pagoda
Yeah.
pauses for you.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm not with Keshel on the like this is the greatest format change ever, but I am with Keshel, which is this is going to be really cool. I've always really liked the gauntlet style stuff. I think it is it is easier to tell and understand like what is happening from the way the bracket works, because I think for your casual fan, they don't really understand what it means whenever a team loses all the time. Like, who are they playing next? Like, wait, can I see this graphic? I think it will be a lot clearer now, and I think the storytelling opportunity around somebody like escaping the gauntlet, even though obviously you had like the losers bracket runs before, I think the gauntlet is a little more clear cut as you watch a team lose and then they have to go and fight for their life. I think it'll be good. So
I think it's cool, but I don't think it's going to feel the same. I do want you to strap in, Kisiel, for that. I know it's exciting to see, Gauntlet's back, but think about past Gauntlet. The purpose was the winner makes it to Worlds. It gave a lot of weight to the journey of teams through the Gauntlet. This time around, if you just make it to top 3, you're at Worlds. The end of the Gauntlet is the LCS title and first seed at Worlds, but that changes kind of the narrative of the broadcast and the narrative of the event. It's not that the Gauntlet is the last spot at Worlds. It's the Gauntlet is still the LCS trophy. That's what's at the end of this Gauntlet.
The other reason it
Also-
won't feel the same is because it's not back to back to back. Like, it was very fun to watch Cloud9
Yeah.
play a best of 5 every day and be like, are they gonna, okay, they did it. Can they fucking win again tomorrow? Okay, they did it. Oh, are they gonna win again? Like it made it very riveting in a way that this is gonna be like less, because you're gonna watch August. If a team gets knocked down and actually makes the run, they have these like big breaks in between, which is kind of awkward. So yeah.
No, I understand that. I agree with all that. I think it's the best change that they've made here, not the greatest change ever. I mean, this is a completely different call, but I think going back to single elimination, I think would be the most exciting and best change ever. But that's a whole different call and topic.
MSI would like to talk to you about that, but that's fine.
All right, Kisiel, thanks so much for the call. I'm gonna get you out of here before people murder you. Is there anything you want to shout out?
No, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
All right.
All right, that was fun. We have a celebrity caller up next, so if you want to get a break in before that, we can go.
So I love Jonathon as much as the next guy, but I think celebrity is perhaps not what the audience is going to be thinking when Jonathon shows up. He's a behind the scenes GM. He's a behind the scenes GM.
The disrespect.
He's a behind the scenes GM.
I even name dropped him earlier.
This guy went to DreamHack Dallas and passed up a Shroud invite, and now he's just on top of the world. His boy is taking over a league org,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
B Bella, thank you for the 13 months. Raz, thank you for the 3 years. NFC PM, thank you for the 11 months. It's Disco Cisco, thank you for the 4 months. Over on YouTube, I have to tell you, Twitch has overtaken you. Wait, that's what I need. I need a way to count, to on-screen visually represent, like, Twitch versus YouTube, like with some sort of point system where it auto updates based off of who's sent memberships versus subs, and then you constantly are humiliating one side or the other.
Yeah, you could put like a little graphic down in this corner, have like a bar with like
Yes.
red and blue or
Yeah.
something, like or purple and red.
Yes.
Hey, there we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's got to be an extension. For
I need
that.
a
You
way
could
to
probably
do it.
shepherd
I need Stream Elements or Streamlabs or somebody to build this for me. All right.
Yeah.
We've got our celebrity guest for the night here, Jonathon, straight off of the Met Gala, has joining the show. Jonathon, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Los Angeles, California.
Los Angeles, California.
What are you wearing?
The notable home of
Who are
many
you wearing?
celebrities.
Who are you wearing?
I
That's
got
the
a
question.
Yoda shirt that my siblings gave me that says like, I think it's like world's okayest brother or some shit like that. It's a great shirt.
Wait, a Yoda shirt? What's the connection between?
Actually, it might be
I
the
don't
one where
understand
my. Actually, never mind.
Were you at
There's
the
more
shroud
lore to
party?
it, but I don't want to go into it too much.
Were you at the shroud party?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, you got fucking. Okay, first off, talk to me about this party. What was it like? Where was it at?
There's actually like this really cool club in downtown LA that has like a bank vault. Like I think it used to be like an old
The Exchange,
school bank.
right?
So it's got like the big, yeah. So it's got like that huge like vault door, and they like, dolled it all up Fallout style. It was pretty sweet.
That's cool.
Okay, and so it was at the Exchange. That's actually pretty sick. I've been there for a bunch of stuff, shows and otherwise. What was the coolest thing they had going on there?
I think it was the people that actually like could pull together an outfit. I got invited like relatively late, so I showed up in not Fallout attire, but a lot of people went all out on it, and it was pretty sweet. And I think even Shroud had like a really sick costume with like a full helmet. I think he
It was the full NCR Ranger outfit. I saw.
Yeah, exactly. Like the full Ranger getup and everything. So a lot of people went all out, and the theming was super cool. All the TVs had like either references to I can't remember the name of the character, but it's like the computer in New Vegas at the end that kind of talks to you and gives you missions and stuff. Like he was up on one screen. They had like Vault Tech stuff on other screens. I just think like the theming was really cool.
That is so sick. I joked about you coming off the Met Gala, but you literally did come off the esports Met Gala. All right, Jonathon, do you want to give context on why you're a celebrity?
Yeah, so I used to be the general manager of NRG before an unfortunate thing occurred after our Worlds run. But before that, I was with CLG for a bit, and I've just been kind of in the space, working as a GM and assistant GM on teams in the LCS.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
Cool. So I wanted to talk about the NACL and finally kick off the NACL part of the show. But
Oh, God.
it's funny because
Viewership dropping.
Yeah, it's plummeting. But I will say, last week I was gonna call in with a much more like hater-fueled kind of opinion on things. Be like, oh, it's doomed. Like, here's all the things that are wrong with it. But then the announcement today kind of showed a little glimmer of hope. So I'll kind of tweak it a little bit. I think the NACL is actually in a pretty decent place right now as far as like the trajectory goes. Like I'm seeing the upside now and the trend line changing. But I do think that there's a bunch of things that are kind of making it a little harder for us to attract more of the Brandon Sandersons and the OTKs and other influencers in this space that I think are worth highlighting and talking about, and also kind of comparing to what happened to the CLoL kind of situation this year. And the main kind of crux of it is that Riot kind of outsources a lot of the production instead of doing this stuff all in-house, and I think that does kind of harm the ability of the product to be kind of cohesive. And to give context for the folks at home who haven't watched the collegiate scene, the whole playoff event used to be a very big deal, very like tons of coverage. They would show every single game on Twitch. Everything was streamed all the way through. And the finals, basically, like I think it was top 8 or some section of top 8, depending on the year, would fly to LA, and they would have them all play in the studio because it was kind of usually like an off period where there wasn't really any games happening there. And it was a whole big to do, and they had a big finals, and it was all in the studio. And I think it was a really great experience for the players, but also it was kind of like the kind of crowning moment of the CLoL circuit. Whereas this year, there's not really core coverage done by the broadcast partner for CLoL up until the literal final game, which is happening not in the Riot studio, but at a kind of venue that is owned by one of the competitors.
So
in
if you
CLoL,
think that's bad, by the way, Jonathon, wait until you hear what they did to LCS finals.
Listen, I don't disagree, right? I just think it's a troubling sign when we keep doing these outsources, because like I don't think this is necessarily always the fault of the groups that are being taking these contracts from Riot. It's more of like a both sides need to kind of like align themselves better, because I think the incentive for these groups is to run the show at the lowest price possible based on whatever they've quoted Riot at, and it's on Riot to try and make that offer compelling enough to make people be able to actually put something up properly, right? So if we're going to keep outsourcing NACL and it's going to cause, for example, like, we bring in more teams because we have more investors coming in, we have more OTK type groups coming in and funding teams, and all of a sudden we're up to like 14, 15, 16 teams. If Rallycry isn't able to support that much broadcast, what if we start dropping broadcast days? That kind of stuff really starts to matter. And I think it's on Riot to make sure that like we are actually setting up the NACL product for success so that we can continue to attract these people. I think, we're not all going to be able to pull in rich streamers and prolific novelists forever if the product itself isn't also getting better. And
don't you feel like if they pull in more rich streamers and prolific novelists and sports athletes and EDM artists and movie stars and celebrities that just came from Shroud's party, don't you feel like then the broadcast itself will be able to level up? Like, I don't think I'm not saying that like, hey, it's okay that they have cut back a ton on the resources for the broadcast, but I also feel like you are worried about a future where this league is having massive success, and I feel like if we get to that place, like, we're not going to be sweating too hard about, oh no, can we afford to add additional broadcast days to support these new celebrity teams?
Yeah, I'll give some context to kind of the way things used to be. So back during like the Academy era, when Riot was running the broadcast, there was always this kind of chicken or the egg dilemma type thing that we'd have to deal with, which was, the viewership is at what it's at. Do we think that the viewership is going to go up? Yes or no? Are we making enough money and all that kind of stuff? And the question was always, if we put more money into this, would the viewership go up? And if we don't put any money into this, will the viewership go up? And ultimately it was like, okay, well, the line in the sand is if the viewership goes up or this, product does better, we can then validate more spend. Because at the end of the day, this is a business run like a business. There's like an annual P&L for folks to take a look at and see how the profits are going and stuff like that. And if the viewership isn't scaling, the money's not going to scale. So you kind of end up in this unwinnable scenario where if you don't add more funding to make the broadcast better to attract more people, then you're not going to ever validate funding things better than it is right now. Even if it is becoming slightly more successful, there's going to be like a delay before it starts to match. So I think we kind of need to like take the opportunity we've been given here with these groups coming in and really like try and capitalize on the viewership gain we're going to get and the kind of like unique engagement we're going to get with non-NACL fans from these new people to try and actually pull in more consistent partners that are going to help the whole league at large instead of individual teams to then validate further funding the broadcast as a whole.
I'm sure that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm sure that Cubby also has a lot of thoughts on this. As an NACL broadcaster, I can say two things. One, I think celebrities coming in and getting these type of naming rights for teams does not necessarily mean we are going to expand the league and have more teams in the future. I don't know. Maybe there's a world where that happens, but as of right now, there's plenty of other teams that I'm sure would be willing to partner with content creators or people that want to come in. So right now, it's not an immediate issue, I would see. And second of all, for anybody curious, Jonathon alluded to them. Rallycry, the broadcast partner that runs NACL. I don't work with them like super directly. I'm on the broadcast side, but I can say, last year we had a couple pretty big sponsors come in, and like our finals like photo booth actually had some pretty cool names on there. We had like Subway, we had Samsung, I believe, was still on there.
I did a Turo ad.
Yeah, a Turo, yeah. And like this spring we still had Subway. Shout out to the foot-long cookies out there. So I think that for the most part, I've been impressed with the business development team at Rallycry for getting these types of sponsors in the door. And if we increase viewership and get these names of people coming in, so far I've seen proof that Rallycry is capable to keep scaling that. Obviously, that's going to be on them to do so. But that's just from my outside view of what I've already seen them accomplish with the product itself. I've been pretty impressed with what they've been able to bring in the door.
I also just like, for me, I feel like if they're going to spend more money, I would rather they spend it on LCS. Like, they're cutting so much costs around that, and I feel like if we're trying to figure out, okay, hey, we've got 50 grand extra, what do we want to do with it? I'd rather them put that into the LCS than into the NACL. No offense to NACL people.
I agree. I think so. Like a couple good things I think we've been able to do with the secondary league. Like one, I know that viewership has actually been positive for I think the last like 3 or 4 splits. Pretty much like since we joined in 22, like we've gotten good feedback on that. I don't have access to the numbers, but We've never been told it's a problem. I think that NACL has actually become a good testing ground for some other things. Like the format that LCS is adopting is pretty much what we had minus Fearless Draft.
Which they kind of
And the
teased
Gauntlet.
in the
Yeah.
messaging anyway. It's like maybe that's on the table going forward.
I think Fearless Draft would be like ashamed not to say or dumb not to say that is kind of a testing ground to see if this can work at a higher level. We've also had more ways to monetize. LCS still doesn't have a sub button enabled on Twitch, which is incredibly short-sighted. NACL has done that, and we were actually like able to have, I think at one point, about 900 subs on the channel, which again went towards the teams. There was a contract in place where that money would go back to Rally Cry until a certain threshold, and then the money would go to the teams. And I know that for the last 2 splits, money has been able to go to the teams after that. So that has like it's been a decent business relationship between like all those parties. I'm 100% with Travis in that if cuts are being made, like you got to save the LCS and the big league first, and it's not like we've really like see. I won't get into like everything like behind the scenes, but I'd say that with your scenario of like pumping money into the broadcast to try and get viewers or not, and pump money in the other stuff and try and keep viewers and increase them, it's very much been the latter.
Yeah, so I'll jump in a little bit here because like I think it's important to show like the magnitude of the wins versus like what we're talking about here. So like when we're seeing like Subway come in, Turo come in, and we're getting like all these partners coming in, we're still at a point where most of these teams are all losing money by participating. So like obviously the rev share hasn't quite caught up to budgeting costs, but I like knowing what the budgeting costs are for these teams. Like if you just even look at like minimum wage for 40-hour work week for someone in the US, which doesn't always add up because obviously some minimum wages are higher in state by state. But if you just use the federal one as like the random number to pick, it does cost about like $1,200 per player per month, and that starts to add up pretty quickly. And like if you talk about the 900 subs, right? Assuming a 50-50 split on those, that's only like $2,000 or so after Twitch takes their cut. So then
But isn't that what they're trying to solve with the celebrity stuff? Like Brandon Sanderson is giving them money.
Yeah, exactly. So the argument here is that's helping subsidize the teams that get it, right? But we have teams in the system that aren't getting that. But obviously the Brandon Sanderson backed team is still entitled to split the money just like the other teams in the league are, right? So it's still going to be split multiple ways. It's not like a needs-based split. So we're going to end up in a world where multiple teams are going to be churning every year. And eventually, maybe we're lucky and things go well and we get more Brandon Sandersons, we get more OTKs, we get more disguised host teams, more LCS teams start to operate teams and stuff like that. And they're able to find a way to make it work. And like, that would be great. But obviously what happens in a world where this becomes somewhat similar to like what happened in Overwatch League, where their biz dev team absolutely knocked it out of the park the first year. The product didn't keep up with keeping those partners that they managed to pull in happy, and now they have to go through the cycle again and bring in new
but you're
partners.
suggesting that the reason the product didn't, like, you're saying, oh no, the NACL will not be able to keep up with this stuff because they won't have enough production budget to do this. Like Overwatch League was a viewership issue. That's why they couldn't maintain those partners. It was nothing to do with the production. And I know that in some sense production can lead to viewership, but I don't think at the tier 2 level that that's really what's happening. And I think production value is overblown in most cases in terms of what it leads to viewership. If you can, like, the thing that will save the NACL will be attention from it'll be celebrity donors who to them, like, whatever you said, like 1 point whatever a month, like where somewhere between like 30 and 50 grand a year is not that much money, and then their participation where you can have Brandon Sanderson versus Asmongold, like where that is something that leads to like interesting moments where people will tune in. I don't think it's necessarily going to be like we need to up the production budget so that we can get like Subway to spend more.
Yeah, maybe the point was kind of misconstrued. I'm not saying inherently like we need to pay all the casters more, hire 10 million casters, play 20 million more games.
I definitely don't think we need to pay the casters more.
I mean, we could.
I'm not saying that like magically makes it better, right? What I'm saying is like the amount of support the product gets, whether it's marketing, whether it's through some sort of like production with the Asmongold versus Brandon Sanderson 1v1 ARAM, whatever the case may be, right? Whatever things we think of to boost viewership. Obviously, those things typically cost money to do, and we're not going to necessarily see that return right away because the goal is to grow the pie to then increase viewership, attract more partners, and start to kind of get more consistent. But obviously, that's the part I'm most concerned about, because usually the viewership needs to go up first to validate the spend, and there's that kind of like delay in those two steps. And that's the thing that's always tripped up Riot in this tier 2 ecosystem, is every time they get a little momentum, it takes more time to then up, you know, the marketing spend, the production spend, all the different spends required to then capitalize that and continue the growth up.
I think that the big one is going to be the OTK signing. I think that one theoretically should directly correlate to an increase in viewership. Not that I'm not a big book fan, but I would be more surprised if a bunch of fans of an
Yeah,
author
when I go
said,
to
check
the
out
League of
this
Legends
tier 2 League of
subreddit,
Legends.
I look at the number 2 post on the subreddit, and it's definitely a video about OTK coming in.
Is it not? Is
No.
it not actually that?
What is it about, Kangas?
would
It's about
assume
Brandon Sanderson entering the league.
Brandon
Sanderson,
yes.
okay.
Brandon
OTK
Sanderson
who?
joining the league. Okay, I could be wrong. But in my mind, I think that we could see, this is maybe like you're looking at the glass half full, but having these types of names come in can increase viewership, and then the teams that exist that don't get relegated, because keep in mind it's a relegation league, so teams will naturally be leaving and new teams coming in every cycle unless teams defend their spots. But the teams that are still in the league can then use that to then market themselves, which seems to be where we're hopefully trending towards, where then you can say, hey, like, look at the viewership increase, and also there's these other brands and orgs in here. Now we can shop around and try and get people to do the same thing with us.
I mean, there are some like low-hanging fruit that I can see happening that I would like to see to like drive this home. So like kind of going off of Jonathon's point, like, hey, what are a couple things that we could do to actually like boost these sponsors? I mean, I think first off, let's have Flowers and Kobe like cover NACL for a week and cover these new teams. I really think that like these, like having the main crew come in for at least a little bit of NACL, and whether they cast together or you divvy them up, I think that would be a boost and give people a reason to watch, and it would make the big co-streamers happy. Let's actually put this on the main LCS channel. We do not get access to the main LCS channel anymore. I think part of that is because we have a sub button, which is cool. But for some of the big matches, there's going to be a 2-week break where there's no LCS, arguably a 3-week break. Why is this not promoted more in that time is a question that I was never able to answer last split, and something that I would like to answer this split.
Shout out, by the way, to Flowers, and I think it was Azale that tried to hop on and like do some of those like co-streams during that break. Hopefully, like we can have that momentum carry forward in summer. I think that type of overlap was maybe not like executed the best in the moment, but the idea is cool. I like the concept.
I mean, this is like also though to answer like the original point where it's like, where is the money going, and also like why it's going to team partnerships is because the responsibility is on them to fulfill the sponsorship partnerships. We are trying to help boost the viewership as a league as a whole, but because there are name title brands, the responsibility isn't on the league to fulfill any of these partnerships besides just to operate the league how it is. And I think that is very telling as to like where money's going and why these partnerships are where they are at the moment.
Hey, Jonathon, thanks so much for the call. We're gonna escape from this very inside esports conversation because our viewership is escaping from the channel. So, is there anything that you would like to shout out here at the end?
No big shout outs. I think just the big thing is the new gauntlet is not a gauntlet. It's a PR spin. It's just double a limb, guys. It's okay. You can like it. It could be cool. I think it's a good change for what the league is, and I'm happy for it. But it's not a gauntlet. That's all I got.
Kind of cringe you didn't shout out Shroud.
I mean, I think he's got enough hype behind him.
You went to his party.
Yeah.
I wish I had gone to his party. All right, thanks so much for the call. We'll catch you next time.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Imagine getting invited to parties.
Imagine being able to go to a party because you're too busy at DreamHack, you know? All right. We've got, let's see, Magi Mick. Thank you for the 16 months. And over on YouTube, Kevin Slawinski coming in, becoming a member. Thank you so much, Kevin, for the membership. I appreciate it. Hey, one thing I am going to start to do on, I shouldn't say start to do, I'm going to experiment with it on YouTube, is I'm going to try to do one specific video a month that the viewers get a chance to vote on that is like not. It's like a little off topic or something I think would not do great on the channel in general, because like maybe people are not going to watch some deep dive analysis into, you know, esports team financials or why I like this random mobile game or, you know, some Magic thing or something like that. But
Or
people
why you
will get
should
to
try
vote.
out Yu-Gi-Oh instead of Magic, right?
Yeah, sure, whatever. But why I hate Yu-Gi-Oh. But I'm gonna try to do some video that like I want to do and would be happy to excited to do, but I also know would bomb on the main channel. And so it's going to be exclusive to YouTube members, at least this first time I try it. I got it from Jenny Nicholson's Patreon as an idea. So if you become a YouTube member, I still have, I think I'll probably post tomorrow the poll, but I've been collecting suggestions from people on what I could talk about as just a post over there. So please go check it out. That's something I'm going to try to do for YouTube membership, just because it's fun to talk about stuff that without the worry of, oh no, is this going to not do well? Anyway, we got Marcelo here. Marcelo, where are you calling from?
Currently Fort Stewart in Georgia.
Fort Stewart and Georgia. Really quickly, Marcelo. Everybody in chat is talking about Hotline Love. I don't think you guys understand. This is a like VOD video that I will be posting on the YouTube channel. That is not, and is exclusive for YouTube members. That's not a. There's not a way to do that for Hotline Love. You have to have all these callers. It's not. Captain Flyers is just confusing people. Anyway, sorry, Marcelo, Virginia. Yes.
Georgia.
Georgia. It's pretty close. Anyway, what do you want to talk about on the show?
My take was that Silvxs, with his new video, if you haven't seen it, you should go see it, has proven that content is exciting and it ignites both old fans and new fans to the LCS.
So Marcelo, you said Georgia, right?
Yes, sir.
Where's Silvxs from, Marcelo?
I don't know, man.
He's also from Georgia.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
wondering
I'm from
if.
Florida.
Do you know? Oh,
I'm
you.
just
But you're
working here.
okay. All right. An interesting story. What do you? Okay, so Silvxs, do you want to give a little bit more context on this? Because I think a lot of people probably haven't seen this video yet.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching since like 2013 now. So when I saw this video, I feel like recently I've been maybe out of the LCS a little bit more. I've always watched Hotline League every week and maybe the dive, but I wasn't as invested as I used to be in the players. But this video really ignited something in me when I got to see the history of how things used to be. And it also explains really well kind of what like the dark ages were like. Maybe we were just kind of losing everything at Worlds and we were just, everyone's so down on our players. And then the new age, I guess, is what you could say now, is where everyone's kind of almost having a little bit more fun when it comes to these things. Like we're kind of trashing on G2 when we beat them, and now Fnatic when we beat them. And I feel like personalities used to be a huge thing in the LCS, and he does a really good job of showing like what personalities used to be like, how it kind of faded. And now I feel like a big one is this Team Liquid team, how they all have such great personalities and they use it very, very well. And, you know, they're allowed to showcase a little bit more. And you also have that with some of the Shopify guys too, and just kind of all around, I think it just ignited like a spark to really, really want to watch the LCS this year. I guess there is more.
And for those, no, I think
guess
I think it's good. The main thing I wanted to say is like a lot of people might not have seen this video yet. It is called The LCS Should Be Dead by Now. That is what Marcelo is referencing. It's made by Silvxs, who is a content creator. Actually, I collabed with them a little bit back in the day. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Shout out to Silvxs.
Yeah, and he started his career in the space by doing these like really hype montages ahead of like major events like Worlds or LCS finals, and would take all this archival footage and create, just set it to really cool music, and then just create like essentially a hype video for some big event that's coming up. And he really blew up that way. Since then, he has started his own little production company. I shouldn't say little, his production company, and they work with Dignitas, I believe, right now, and then also I think he said they're doing some stuff with Game Changers with Riot.
He works with the Atlanta Hawks as well, so
Yeah.
like it's pretty big time. Yeah,
It's not only esports, but that's like his kind of passion.
Sure.
Is esports.
And so he has put together this video called LCS Should Be Dead by Now. I think Marcelo did a good job of talking about the aspects of it that are really resonant with a lot of the people who have watched it. And I would encourage people to go take a look at it. And I like this take for a couple of different reasons. One, it's very positive, and it's doing a good job of highlighting a creator in the space doing something awesome. Silvxs, he's a big personality on Twitter for anybody that follows him. But overall, he has not made himself an esports personality. He's just a fan of the space who's creating a lot of very, passionate, driven content. And so I think it's just really cool to see him doing something like that. And I love that the call is calling in to highlight that. So the other thing that I think is good about this is that, and what I agree with you on the videos, how much we don't have a lot of content like this, and I wish Riot did more of this on their end, because I think there's a big push, very wisely, on their end to move away from, okay, we can't keep talking about Double F, we can't keep talking about Bjergsen. I think that is very smart. But I think finding a way to create a through line between the LCS of old and the current LCS is a really good way to bring back lapsed viewers and to get people excited about the league. And Marcelo, what you were saying about how this helped you get hype for the league, and also you aren't even one of those lapsed viewers. You're a current viewer that you get really excited about seeing all this stuff that you missed. It gives you this sense of depth to the history of this thing. I think that is really great, and I think that's something that I totally agree this piece did, and I think is fantastic.
I think why people were so connected with this piece is just because it covered the history of the piece. And something I always really connected with was Pastry Time's replay files. I love the fact that was something where you would sit down with the people now and talk about big events of the past. I always thought that was a really cool piece of content, to visit what that meant looking back. And yeah, I mean, I think that this kind of goes into the whole conversation we had about the Hall of Legends / Hall of Fame. Overall, Riot doesn't. If you want to build up a league, you have to build up the history of the league. You have to have a way to, as you just pointed out, Travis, have through lines between the then and now and how things have changed, and honoring what was great of the past, including obviously the big players of the past, but also using that to build up the future. And I think this is something that basketball does really well. And every single generation of the game, the older generation, they prop up the new generation. They hand them their flowers when the time comes where records are broken or there are new great players taking over. And I think that's part of the reason, why people feel so attached to the stars of that sport, given how important they are on the court, and then given how much respect there is mutually between the greats that went before them and now. Riot, they don't like to honor the history of the game, and the pros now just like the shit on the pros then like the shit on the pros now. And I really hate that. We're seeing I won't get too in the traditional sports hole, but I think it's so fucking petty that we have old pros sit on co-streams and say, oh, I could have done that, or fuck that, that's better. Where is actually building things up? And I know this has been an issue for a long time. People feel it's kind of perverse, the LCS, but I don't see that changing ever. And I really feel when we get videos like this where it does feel like everything is built up, it's because we honor everything that did happen in the past, and then we're able to use that to build on what's going on now. And if the people in the past don't want to hop on that boat, then they aren't here to build up their own scene and what actually made them big. And I really pisses me off. I feel like they're shitting where they stepped, and that's disrespectful.
I think the piece, I just watched the piece earlier today, actually, right before hopping on Hotline League. So it took me a while
you watched
to watch
on stream,
it,
right?
I watched on stream, yeah. So shout out to Silvxs. He threw out a couple references to some of the folks in the scene, in the community coming up as well, because it's kind of tiered in past, kind of breaking up into different year clumps of the LCS history, and then kind of a bright looking future. And one of the things that really resonated with me was ending the line with Kobe's famous shot call of the unwavering, the undoubtful, or stuff like that. The faithful shall be rewarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in general, what I said on stream, and I'll say it again here. I've been a longtime CLG fan. They're not even around anymore. They used to be called the Faithful. Like us fans called ourselves the Faithful from that line. And now I think that just encapsulates all of NA fans in general. Like the LCS fans are now kind of the Faithful. When we go to international events, like there's nothing but faith powering us.
Kangas, do you think,
hoping that we can do something?
To that point, do you think that CLG faithful were rewarded?
A couple times. A couple times.
I just meant more with their departure.
Maybe not the longest term.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you again. Go finish your thought.
No, you're good. You're good. But I think that why the piece was so good and why a lot of people connected with it was that it painted a road forward as well. It felt like, it had a message that was hopeful at the end of it. And that was my favorite part of it because it did pay homage. It admitted the terrible years of a drought of like nothing good happening for the region, basically. But then ended with like, but we do have superstars in the league. We do have personalities that you should care about and know about. We do have fun memes and things as a community to talk about still. We just need to be talking about it because I think a big part of it, we reference things. I know chat's been talking about it as well, like Drive episodes, right? I did this a while back. I like Google searched old Drive episodes from 2016. Do you remember Team Liquid Matt?
Yeah.
The support player.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people nowadays have no idea who that player is. I'm sure a lot of people in Twitch chat and on YouTube are like, I don't know who Matt is. He hasn't been around for a while. Guess how many views his Drive episode has?
I'm sure hundreds
it's
of
like
thousands.
500, 600K.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. Guess how many views the Contracts Drive episode has right now?
40,000 views?
Yeah.
Damn.
So a big part of it is just like Riot is not going to be putting the resources towards making these videos when they just aren't getting necessarily the same viewership. But that's on us as fans, to make sure that we're hyping that stuff up when it does come out. So I'm happy that the community is hyping up the Silvxs video so much because it definitely deserves it.
Yeah. What is the viewership on? I don't want to click it right now because it'll blast audio. But do we know what the viewership is on the Silvxs video? I mean, admittedly, it's only been out for like 24 hours.
40K when I last was watching.
I was gonna check the Masu.
It has a lot on Twitter.
Oh yeah, it's also posted on Twitter.
47K on YouTube right now.
Yeah, I mean, that is just really good. It's funny I say that and then I accidentally blast music. That is just like really good for a video that is on not a frequently updated YouTube channel that is specifically about the LCS, and I think part of that is because it does tap into the nostalgia, but I think that there is a world where Riot can tap the nostalgia of the past to promote the league now.
Yeah.
And they tried to do that in the past. Like they did the whole Double Lift Danny video. That was like a hype video at the start. And I think it was pretty good. But I think now more than ever I think the league was not in a good enough place to capitalize on, and for good, I mean as a product, to capitalize on what they were trying to do then. I think the league is in a much better place now. And so that type of content, I think, could be better at bringing in some of these Laps fans and or hyping up current ones.
I want to double down on that. I don't think it's like an issue with the quality of the videos that LCS has been putting out or the stories of the players that modern Drive episodes are made about.
I think it's dude, okay.
It's YouTube. It's the
it's like no. Okay, how long was that Matt video?
The Matt video. Ooh.
How long of a video is it?
Drive Matt. What are the odds this is actually gonna be the right video on YouTube? It's not. No, it is. It is 9 minutes 34 seconds.
Yeah, and then the Contracts video is like twice that length. I think a lot of these videos, and I just think that and then they released a
14, 15 for Masu's,
yeah. Like I think that they have. I don't think that they've adapted enough to the way that content is made on YouTube these days. And so, look, I like the call, Kangas, on like we as fans should be promoting this content a lot as well. But I do also think that Riot's features team has not done a great job of adapting to the current meta for YouTube content. And I don't think that Matt's story would do as well now just because of the way that like content is done on on YouTube. You can't just put pretty stuff
Came out in
anymore,
2016. That was a different
Yeah.
algorithm, a
Yeah.
different way people consumed media.
Yeah, and they still make
Yeah.
those pieces the way they did, but they make them longer. Like I did a video about this earlier this year where I was talking about the sneaky video. There's like a sneaky drive video that did like incredible, and it's like a 4-minute video that they had outsourced, and it's just like very snappy, very quick. You're just switching. You're always in the right scene. Like the moment where I used to talk with Mark about this. I think maybe on the show, where it jumped the shark was when like. Was it Acadian? They did a drive episode where Acadian is driving in a convertible up Malibu, and all like along the coast, and they have like all these like drone shots of him on this stuff, and it feels like an opening of like Mission Impossible in terms of like what you're seeing, and it just does not. It is not like resonant to what it does not feel relatable in the way a lot of this old content did. And so I think that that's like part of the problem is that they have switched. They have over time, I think, tried to move more towards these like Hollywood style like visuals, and they have pushed the art more than the story in a lot of this content. So
I mean, the fact that the Masu video, the last one they did, has 26K views, like actually makes me mad because he does have a great. He has a great story behind him, and like yeah, they aren't making what's in the algorithm, and also I haven't seen that shit in shorts at all. I feel like exactly what you're saying, Travis. Like you got to cut things up, and then like when you make one piece of content, your goal should be to get as much mileage out of that content and different versions of that content as possible. And I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I appreciate it. That's it. I think if I'm the Riot Features team, I should be looking at this Silvxs video and being like, fuck, why did this outperform a lot of what we do?
Yes.
And it's like Silvxs, who's sitting on his PC in Premiere, just one man editing this, and then you have the whole team over there that's like bringing drone shots and renting spaces and doing all this stuff. It's just
look at the cost of one compared to the other.
Yeah, the cost and the manpower and all that stuff, and it's like what it's the stupid meme of like what would win, one dude cutting up archival footage that he's probably just ripping using 4K video downloader off of YouTube, or an entire team with hundreds of thousands of dollars of gear and a massive budget, and it's little old Silvxs like pumping away at this video that he really wants to make because he cares about the space and just wants to do something cool, like in my opinion, that there should be a whole meeting about that internally. Like, hey, what should the takeaways be from this? Will that happen? Probably fucking not. Anyway, Marcelo, I really appreciate you calling in about this Silvxs thing. It's super cool, and I like it a lot. So thanks for calling in. Anything you want to shout
out? Shout out to you, man. I've been watching you since basically the inception. I've never been able to call in, and it's kind of wild about 10 years later now that I'm calling in.
Well, I'm sorry for suggesting that you were a paid caller.
It wasn't paid by you, Travis.
Right.
Did want to say, Silvxs did tweet at Mark saying that if his video isn't the biggest one in the year, that he'll pay it himself. So I feel like Mark.
Dude, Silvxs does this all the time. This is the one thing I love Silvxs, but his Twitter persona is it's a lot, and I think oftentimes he creates a lot of people who root against him because of that. But I do appreciate that he, I guess, is bold enough to say these types of things.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anyway, thanks so much for the call. Thanks for the shout out, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, we've got two more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slam it. All right. Over on Twitch, we have Sahani Bill, thank you for the Prime, and then Chad Henney, thank you for the Prime as well. Over on YouTube fell off. Groggy, where are you calling from?
Yo, Travis, I'm calling from Oakland, California, baby.
Oakland, California, baby. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I'm super stoked for the Twitch integration, man. I mean, there's a lot I'm stoked for from that announcement, but that's my number one. I'm pumped.
What about it is, because I think it's flown under the radar a little bit, and it's also very nerdy, and no offense to you, to be like, damn, there's a Twitch extension coming. This is hype, you know. But like, so I'm curious. I'm curious what about it, because I think it's great you're calling it, because I think it deserves more conversation. So what is it that you're excited about?
So here's where I'm coming at it from. I'm an old esports head. Like, I'm with you, Travis, and like Freak. I was doing audio commentaries, which is where you had to like record the audio
Yes.
from a replay file.
Warcraft 3 replays, War 3 replays,
yeah, WC replays. Yeah, I used to do audio commentaries for them, and it's just crazy to me. For like, I'm not in playing the game anymore, League, for many obvious reasons. It's a little too toxic for me. I don't have as much time to play that anymore. But I still love following the esports scene. I still have my Cloud9 summoner icon from season 3 that I bought. I'm still pumped about it. But when I'm watching it on stream, it sometimes can be incredibly difficult to even like remember what a champion does. If it wasn't for like watching TC Swag videos on YouTube, I would have no idea what like Malzahar does, or how his passive works, and how that got changed, and why his AP works. And it's just something you cannot figure out on stream. And you could spend all the time you want watching a 2.5-hour patch rundown by Freak, which I have done on occasion for really big patches, because I care about it and I want to understand what the heck's going on. But in the moment, watching a game when Captain Flowers is calling out an ability name, or there's some weird new build going on, I want to be able to hover and see like, okay, what is this percent that they're getting? Like Malzahar, I had to pause a video that I was watching TC Swags literally last night to see, okay, so how much magic percent max health damage does this actually do? And it was like 72%. I was like, holy shit, this champ is nuts. I get it now. But it wasn't until that moment that like I had that. And yeah, it's a little silly for somebody who's been following the league scene as long as I have, but I think it goes to illustrate like there's a lot of champions in this game. There's a lot of items. They're all constantly getting changed. And honestly, I like that. I'm not the type of person that gets mad when something gets nerfed or changed or whatever. Yeah. I think having that constant churn is sick. That's awesome. That's what keeps the game alive. Even if it's a bad change, that's still interesting and exciting and fun to watch. And so I think this kind of goes into another tangent of like people hating so much in the scene, which you guys were talking about earlier. But there's like, I come from where if I wanted to watch a Warcraft 3 tournament, I had to fucking do everything. I had to schedule it, plan it, fund it myself, gather players for it, gather pro personalities who might be able to show up to get other people to come play it, cast it myself, release the replays by myself, or like do the in brackets by myself. Like, to see how great we have it today, but still not be able to pull some of those people in is sad for me. Like, it's frustrating for me as a fan.
Counterpoint. Yeah. This is useless because I'm not sitting there. I'm not sitting there listening to Captain Flowers talk about some play. I'm sitting there listening to Medios talk about how he hasn't gone to the bathroom in 2 days or something. And
what?
And will I be able to hover the screen on his co-stream and see what the ability that just happened on screen does? You know?
Yeah, I think it
just a joke,
is
by the way.
a very
Captain
exciting
Flowers
thing for a fairly small part of the audience, I imagine. But I do encourage anybody who knows about it to try it out. Because something that we're learning, I don't want to quote any specific studies or any numbers, but interactivity with media is big. If you can interact physically, or not, maybe not physically, but like interact on your screen,
I want to be able to touch Captain Flowers' face.
Watch it. Well, you know, maybe there's limitations, okay. But otherwise people are going to be watching and also on their phone. Like, people generally are doing something while they're consuming media. So if you can do something with the media that you're consuming, it should hold your attention better. So I'm hoping that people do try it out. But I do still think it's going to be a pretty small small like percentage of the viewer base that will fully utilize something like this. But it's still cool. I'm so happy it exists.
So my thing about this is that this isn't made for me. And I appreciate your point, Steve, or Kangas, about like how many folks are going to watch this on a different piece of media that's not their PC, and also Travis that is not twitch.tv/LCS. To be fair, this is also a reason to actually tune into twitch.tv/LCS. And if we're being honest about it too, like this is something where it's not a use case for probably anyone calling into the show. Like the job of this extension for me is actually a scenario that I hinted at earlier that I put myself in every year. I love League of Legends. This is my game. But I also, part of the reason why I love League is the puzzle of figuring out a MOBA and like learning about the game, all the different champs, the different items. I put myself in those same shoes every year for the Dota 2 International. That's the only Dota event I watch, and I actively utilize their tools on their streams with their extension to click around. Like I can click around the game and learn stuff about it on my own. And for someone like the caller who has been really into a game before and wants to know the nitty gritty of like, hey, why is this being played? Like, what are the numbers on this? That is a really powerful extension, let alone just someone who is extraordinarily casual and is like, oh my God, I've never seen a game of NACL before. What is this champion to me? Because, like, I mean, you could have the best casters in the world crushing it on their explanation of what this champ does, but I can also click around and answer any questions on my own too, which is huge. It's a huge diminishing of the barrier to entry, which is why like I appreciate that you guys are like, hey, is this going to be used by too many people? But I think the best use case for it is that if someone is new and they have this, it makes life 10 times easier for them. And I feel like it's a huge win. And another thing where it's like, why didn't we have this earlier? Because
we were making
like
Bamtech and Ren. I mean, that's a legitimate answer, right? That's what this is supposed to be.
They could have developed this for Ren and then sold it to Twitch to actually make that, a little bit of money back on that. Yeah. Good thinking, Travis.
Travis,
I've heard Bamtech referenced every time I've been on the show. I'm not convinced this isn't a weekly conversation.
You're base for that.
Yeah, you're the Bamtech OG.
Yeah. This is where I'm with you, Travis, where sometimes where it's like maddening to see some of the marketing decisions these companies make.
Yeah, it's not even marketing, it's product decisions, right? Like it just I think Overwatch did this in the first year when they had that Overwatch, when they did the deal with Twitch. They had all this stuff built into, like, Twitch actually built it with them in partnership, right? And I think that stuff is really cool. It does add to the experience and it elevates it beyond like a normal Twitch stream. I think the biggest question for me is like how it actually doesn't even matter how many people use it, as long as maintaining it from an engineering perspective is like it's the easiest thing in the world. Like if they don't need to actually ever touch this extension and it will just work for years at this point in time, then or at the very least like it's just a couple tweaks based on how Riot adjusts their own API, then I'm like, well, this is going to be great. The challenge is we have seen stuff like this before, like the Hall Pass thing that they sold and the ProView stuff that they sold, and they did it for a split and then they got bored with it, or it just wasn't successful enough, so they didn't continue to put resources into it and it just died. So I think as long as, and it should be pretty easy in my opinion, my estimation, like they already use an internal API to automatically, from my limited understanding, to already update like the visuals on screen. So if this extension is just feeding into all that stuff, then it should be pretty easy. Also, I believe this was something that CLoL had developed, and then they're adjusting it for LCS. So there's already other instances of it going in. So I think actually the if this can become like global tool, then it's gonna survive for a long time, and that will hopefully be pretty good. So.
Yeah, shout out to CLoL. They do great stuff. But I think the biggest thing with this extension is that it doesn't require you to go to a different medium to watch the games. Most people are watching on Twitch. You stay on Twitch. The thing with ProView is you had to kind of like log in. You had to go to the league website, the little esports website. I'm pretty sure you had to watch through there, right? So I think the accessibility of this is already going to make it better. And also, I do want to shout out the fact that co-streamers can utilize this too, theoretically, right?
Yeah, I was memeing about that, but yes, I'm curious if they end up. This will be very fascinating, actually. You raise a great point, Kangas, which is, will Riot give this to the co-streamers?
Because if they do, I could totally see Casual using this all the time.
Right.
I want to hear Casual's thoughts of like breaking down the numbers.
Not to go on a tangent, but do you guys think Riot is happy that Casual gets more viewership than the. Because if
No,
you're Riot and
no.
you publicly are like, we think it's great that this happens, but internally you're like, fuck. Like,
I think if they're
then
smart, they shouldn't care.
then you're probably not
I
jumping
asked
to.
Mark.
You're probably working on some stuff behind the scenes to maybe get this to co-streamers in the future, and then that working just goes for as long as Ren took. So I think that would be perhaps it'll just be. I'm very curious to see if they end up giving this. Does anybody know if CLoL co-streamers have access to this tool? Because that's actually the main.
I don't. That
thing.
would be kind of the barometer, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe
So
Twitch chat knows.
That if anybody can say whether or not we don't probably have a massive Brazilian audience, but if Papa Smithy says should see if Biana stream has it. Yeah, if that's something that is there, then I think that would be fascinating to learn. So, but
Maybe
anyway,
this is the only
Groggy, thanks for the
reason that
call.
They don't have more views than Biano. You know, they like the extension.
True.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I wanted to give a shout out to Bilbo Sanderson. I just started reading his book today.
What is the name of the book, Groggy, that you're reading?
The Way of Kings.
Okay.
I'm on City of Bells. This book is gnarly, man.
What's been your favorite part of the book?
Well,
No
I
spoilers.
liked the people in the first chapter, but the second chapter made me sad.
All right. Anyway, I'll let you go, Groggy. But thanks for the call. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
All right. Just making another Brandon Sanderson name joke. All right, we got one.
I'm so happy that he stuck that in.
504 Caesar, thanks you for the $9.99 and then additional $9.99 super chat. Shout out to Twitch from YouTube, says 504 Caesar. 504 Caesar calling out Twitch by being like, hey, we've got $10 or $20 of super chat. Twitch, are you all going to take that? Dairy Time is stepping up with the Prime. Somebody said earlier if Travis spent as much time thinking about streaming as he did about how to play his viewers against themselves, he would be massive. And I don't know if that's true, but I appreciate the call out. Mr. Chips, thank you for the tier 1. Really appreciate it. Ehero, your microphone is way wide open, so we're just hearing all sorts of stuff. What do you want? Where are you calling from?
Sorry. I'm calling from St. Petersburg, Florida.
From Florida. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I'm pretty sure you pulled me for the take about the Esports World Cup.
It was not that one. I DM you about it. It was the other one you had.
My bad. Okay, Sheiden. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so so Sheiden's been tearing it up in solo queue. Basically, every time I tune into a stream like Double Lift, whatever, he's absolutely dominating. He's making everybody else's lives miserable as Jungle Gap every game. And I think he is someone you really need to take a chance on in LCS. I think probably maybe a Shopify slot. Take out Boogie, take out an import. Let's put some North Americans in there. And
I got great news for you.
That's half of why I pulled this take. we have the two-pronged effect here, ehero. I have good news for you. Tomio is now the starting jungler for Shopify Rebellion. But also, if you want to vouch for Sheiden over him, you know.
I mean, we'll hear. Sorry for cutting you off there. I just
yeah.
No, I mean I don't hate that news. I mean I like that news. I think
so. It's news to you. So you didn't see this on. Okay, you didn't see this on Shopify Rebellion. Okay.
No. I just was thinking. I was just thinking today about Sheiden because I saw him again in a solo queue game, and I was just he kind of had like the Spica treatment on EG where they brought him in. And he just kind of got dumped on in a terrible situation, and then everybody just says, "Oh, that guy's garbage. Send him to the netherworld." But then obviously, just like in Spica's case, those players can work out in better situations. So yeah, that's my take.
Yeah. Sheiden is he still second on the ladder as well? I know Surdy and Sheiden were top 2 on the ladder and competing with each other for number 1.
Yeah.
They're teammates on FlyQuest Challengers.
Also, Quad was number 1 earlier in the split, which I find funny. To be fair, some of the teams were boot camping over in Korea, so those guys were really blitzing out at the start of the year. But yeah, and this is something where I find it interesting. Like, jungle is really deep in this region, and for me, Sheiden has actually always been like a very strong jungler. It's just kind of like, when is it your time? And also we see times even get cut short, like for a player like XU. I feel it's too bad just knowing that if this were a 10-team league, the reported EG topside, which Kelsey said on the show, was 30 plus Sheiden. And to watch them dominate an entire split of NACL and also dominate the solo queue ladder in that time as well, and then just have like no consideration for moving up is kind of sad to me. Because like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to like see that these guys are good players. And I know that I sit here on my high horse every week as someone whose job it is to cover them and say these guys are really good and should get moved up to the next level. But like that wasn't the case this offseason. And I think that a lot of the changes that happened in LCS were positive. I think a lot of fans would be thrilled to see the Krish back. I am too. I think that a lot of fans are thrilled to see Speaka back. I just like I don't know what else these guys can do to make it in. And I feel like if they made it in, they would do very well in the league. So that said, I'm really excited for Tomio to hop in the Shopify Rebellion. I feel like he is a solid player who will give them. I feel like a lot of their early games kind of had to be played around Boogie and his aggression. I think that he's going to give them more outs as to not like have to like play just towards that in the early game. But I mean, I appreciate the shout out because Sheiden is someone that held rank 1 plus rank 2 on the ladder, and has consistently been like a top 10 player and has done very well now at the secondary level. And it still is like not real, like no opportunities for him as a player. So it's a real bummer.
I feel especially rough after summer splits for players like Surdy and Sheiden. I'm just lumping Surdy in as well at this point. I feel like it's kind of the same conversation for players of their caliber because off seasons like that are long. They're not making an abundance of cash right now playing in the tier 2 ecosystem regardless, and then they're gonna have to survive another off season. Every year I'm like, how much longer can we hold on to these players that are ready and could play in LCS? How much more heart do they have to keep grinding and trying to make that push until they get that opportunity? And I know it's always tough for the players, especially between spring and summer, because it's the argument is going to be made at orgs either way. It's like, hold on to a roster, let them cook, and let's see what they can do if they stick together for a full year. But then there's also the counter argument, well, there's players that could theoretically come in and improve the teams and do better and show that they have what it takes. So it's tough to please everybody, but it is also tough for players in Sheiden's situation where, I mean, at our level in the NACL, like whenever they're on stream, it's like, yeah, they're good. Like, what else more can we say about them, right? Like, we've kind of given their story as much as we can, and we just hype them up as much as we can. But at the end of the day, it's not us that get them signed.
I thought that Sheiden was criminally underrated last split. I had him ranked a lot higher than my peers and like my awards, and he's very good. And I'm really glad that he's popping off in solo queue and getting more folks like you to talk about him. Because you know about Sheiden's success, but we don't know that Shopify Rebellion actually promoted Tomio. So we might need to check in on the Shopify Rebellion promotion tour for Tomio there.
All right. Yeah.
Might need some work. I assume, are you a fan of Sheiden or Shopify Rebellion? Like, are you excited for Tomio? Like, what is your gut reaction now hearing this on the show that he's starting?
I mean, my gut reaction is any North American player that's getting a shot is a good thing. That's what we need to be doing. I think it's shown time and time again recently that that's how our teams are successful. Yeah, I mean, take APA for instance. You go from, if you're a grinder like APA, you go from getting headshot by Summit saying you're a Ziggs one trick to being an LCS champion. And and I think that Sheiden's showing that he's a grinder too. I just think it's nice to be able to tune into, a stream, see someone just whenever I turn it on, there he is, he's working hard. And the Tomio thing, yeah, I mean, same there. I mean, I was just looking at his Wikipedia and he's been, there and back again a bunch.
He also won 2 splits of Challengers League back to back and did not have a starting spot. So the issue for jungler, like it's a deep role and
what I can say, anybody who doesn't know who Tomio is, be excited. I hope Shopify uses him for as much content as they possibly can. Sheiden was funny for different reasons. Tomio's going to be funny because he is just a funny guy. Like,
the
get
funniest
that
streamer
guy in
Twitch
front
fan.
of a camera and give him a microphone and just let him ramble, and he will create memes for the LCS on his own. And I think you can already get a piece of that from Shopify's video that they released with him and Insanity going to like a Korean 7-Eleven and just like looking at stuff. It's just like he just does funny stuff. He's a funny guy.
I'll end this here by saying Late Night Arc in the chat says, can we still talk about the LCS in this show? And to that, I'd say, you say that we can't talk about NACL and still cover the LCS. But to stop doing either forces an illogical and impossible choice. We support NACL. It's who we are.
LCS is a North American league filled with North American players. We should talk about North American players.
Thanks so much, ehero, for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah. I've listened to like a million episodes of Hotline League in the last 5 years. I even like ran a half marathon listening to back-to-back episodes. So I'm just a huge fan. Super big lurker. Like my first time on the live show. So thanks for pulling me in.
Yeah, I really appreciate the call, and it's cool to hear. It's always cool to hear that we have people who are like listening to the show when they're doing something cool. And half marathon is pretty badass. So thanks for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Later.
All right.
You know what the best part about that reference was, Travis? He tried to come in and talk about the redacted event. We immediately shut it down.
Yeah, that's true. We end it with that. All right. That is the show, everybody. I have been traveling all day and then went straight to this, so I'll probably hang out on stream for a little bit, but we can't go much later than 20 minutes over our normal time. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in, and thank you, Kangas, for coming on. We'll do a round of plugs and shout-outs here at the end. Cubby, what do you want to shout out?
Yeah, tune in to CLoL. It's going to be Valorant on the 7th and League on the 8th. And I'm trying to find the channel it's going to be on. Because they put out the announcement. You can watch in person, by the way, if you are at Boise. But we're excited. I'm excited to be a part of that. It's going to be on Uni Esports NA, which I will share here if that's of interest to anyone else. And besides that, excited that we get to talk about NA League of Legends. Travis, everything booted back up today, and thanks for heading it out in your travels. So yeah.
No, it was perfect timing. I think it was just really good for all this to hit. So, Kangas, what do you want to shout out and plug here?
Shout out Travis bringing me on, and everybody on YouTube and Twitch. I love you both equally. I think Travis, it depends on who donates more. But I think you're all great. Everyone tuning in. Yeah. Also, shout out to the League Rundown listeners. That's my own podcast that I've recently taken over as host, longest running League podcast. Shout out to any Trinity Force Network fans back in the olden days. But yeah, so check out my pod. We talk about LEC and LCS. So if you're interested in both regions.
Yeah, that's awesome. For me, I just want to shout out. I had a great time meeting all the different people that were at DreamHack, so shout out to all the people I met there. This week I will be I have a very crazy week. I'll be at Asset Day. We're going to be capturing a bunch of content there. Then I'll be at Summer Game Fest this weekend, and Monday, I think. So come check that out. That's well, I don't know if it's not open to the public, but if you are going to Summer Game Fest, please be sure to say hi. I'll be doing some fun stuff there for content. And then yeah, it should be a pretty good week and a lot of cool stuff coming. Also, there are rumors and rumblings that June is going to be a very crazy month. So I would suggest we all hold our hats, because not only is LCS going to start, but I just feel like there's a lot of stuff that's on the way. So we'll catch you all next week for Hotline League. Woo!